So now I have my hibiscus inside my enclosure. That'll keep the rabbits and all the other beasts from getting into it. And here's that raised bed that I built. It has three types of tomatoes in here. Three small tomatoes and one large. They're looking a little bit rough over there on the left because I just transplanted them yesterday evening, and they're just trying to kind of come back from the transplant. So keep an eye on them and keep them watered and see how that goes. And just a reminder, I have some catnip right here. Really important to have that because I don't want my plants to be bothered by bugs, and it tends to be really good about keeping them away. Plus it flowers really beautifully, sort of purplish blue when it does flower. And I've planted it right next to where I put my summer squash. I've never ever had good luck with summer squash, so I'm hoping for this year maybe it'll work. And as you can see, here's how my peas are doing. These are the peas that I started in the fall, and I kept them under cover all winter. And so they're producing. They're really, really yummy. High mowing seeds, organic, non-GMO peas, and I can get the variety for you, and I'll put them in the comments below. But really a sweet shelled pea. Really, really like this one. I'll be adding this again another year. So down here you can see most of this bed, because it's onions and some lettuce and some spinach and some beets, and they're still, they were planted by seed in the ground. So we'll have to see where they go. And then today I planted my from seed cucumbers, and I've got them covered because they just don't like that much sun, and it's a little hot considering they just came out. So you can see under here, I've planted in the front here, closest to us, those are regular Evermore regular climbing cucumbers. And then just behind it, in the really small plants, you can maybe just barely see, those are pickling cucumbers. And in this bed, these are the same peas that I started from seed this spring. Of course, I have a big head start with the winter garden. My nasturtiums haven't started to flower yet, but they're looking pretty healthy. And you can see that I've gotten 4 tomato plants in over here. These are Rose de Bern tomatoes, large tomatoes. They seem to like it over here. And they were all planted again from seed, high mowing seeds, organic, non-GMO. I do all organic gardening. I don't use any chemicals, occasionally insecticidal soap as needed, but for the most part I try to plant companion plantings that will help. The celery seems to be doing well. I've never grown celery before, so this will be a new thing for me. And then I've got some head lettuce over there that's just beginning to kind of come along. It gets so hot here so quickly that lettuce can be a challenge, but we'll see. And then I, of course, have my huge carrot garden growing here. These gave them a little too much water. I planted them in November, grew them over winter underneath cover, and they've got a lot of green, but not a lot of the root. But that's okay. They're still sweet when I pull them up, even though they're not particularly orange or very big. But I'm going to kind of let them go, and just sort of as an experiment to see if I ever get an actual decent carrot out of these. And these are some where I've just kind of weeded out. I pulled out the bigger ones and left the small ones. Little garlic chives growing along the edge there, just to sort of add to the garden. And I planted some parsley over in this area as well. So that's kind of where we are. I'm using this Florida Weave trellis. I used this last year with my tomatoes. It was really successful. I switched to metal posts this year. I'm not really keen about putting metal in the garden, but I had used the wooden ones that you see behind there that I'm using for peas right now, and they didn't hold up really well. They've got some knots in them, and they kind of let go. They weren't strong enough. They worked okay for one season, but they just didn't hold up well. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this Florida weave, which is basically two pieces of twine, and then you cross them over each of the plants as you get there. So hopefully that will work well for this year. We shall see. And I'll give you an update as I have it. So there's my inside the bird netting PVC cover to keep my squirrels and birds and so forth out. And as you can hear, just the other side of this berm here, there's actually a fairly busy road traveling right along there. So I'm in a neighborhood in an HOA, and these are above ground beds. I think I may have mentioned in an earlier video that under the bottom of these are actually open to the ground at the bottom, but we have very heavy clay soil here. And so rather than try to amend the soil and dig holes in the ground in our neighborhood, I chose to go above ground, but I put hardware cloth, that metal mesh screening type of thing under the bottom to keep the voles and chipmunks from coming up under the bottom, because I've had problems with that in the past, and then filled it with bagged raised bed soil. So there you have it, and I'll give you an update as things progress.